So, besides the gameplay, let's talk about one of the most important things within a gacha game. The monetization. Now, obviously, you have to take this with a grain of salt because we don't know what the in-game economy is going to be like on launch, and we don't know what the prices of individual pools or pool packs are going to be in the game, and what sort of packs the game is going to offer on launch. So, no matter how good a system is or how bad a system is, it's all kind of arbitrary until we kind of get a cost per pool and the in-game currency. And all of this could potentially change on launch. But in today's video, I want to talk about the monetization in Arknights Endfield, what's changed, what's been added, things I like, and things that I think I can understand people having potential problems with. Because there definitely is some things that I don't think people are going to like, and I think there's some things that are really, really cool as well. So let me know what you think down below about the monetization, about the changes, and about the additions. I'd love to know. And let's get into it and have a conversation then, shall we? So, I want to start off with probably the coolest part of the new monetization, and that is the Protocol Pass, which is this game's pass, and it is a really cool idea. They've basically looked at what Fortnite does, and they've implemented it into this game. So you've got 3 tiers of pass now. You have the basic supply, which you just get as you play the game. You just unlock the stuff that's in the basic supply. You have the Originium supply, which you can use Originium to get that, or you can spend a regiometry, if I get that right, because I can never seem to get it right, to unlock that part of it. And then you can also unlock the Originium Protocol customized tier, but this actually gives you back more currency to be able to re-buy the pass again in future, which is actually really cool. So if you complete the pass, depending on where the supplies of the currency stop, or if it's at the end, or how many levels, if you complete the pass, you will be able to then re-up and refill on the pass. So the top tier can potentially be a one-time purchase if you are logging in daily, or at least completing the pass throughout the period of the pass. Now, of course, it does introduce a more need to log into the game on a daily basis, and maybe an addition of FOMO, just like those passes do. But it does give you the ability to have a one-time purchase and never have to go back to buying this pass again. And I think that is a really cool option. If you decide that you're having a break from the game, or you just can't log in, you can let it run out, and what you've got left, if you've got enough, you can roll it onto the next pass when you decide to buy it, and you're all good to go again, and you can start from the start, and it still could be a one-time purchase, or maybe just having to top it up to make up the difference. I think this is a really, really cool introduction into the game. In my opinion, free to play friendly, low spend friendly, if you will, free to play friendly. I wish, but in a sense, after, man, if you're 5 years into the game, it's pretty much free to play at that point, if you ask me. But a one-time buy, and that is a really, really good option, in my opinion. Now, let's talk about some changes that I think some people are not going to be happy with. And I get it. I understand it, right? And I do think we have to look at Endfield as a different game to Arknights. We've got a totally different game here. It's going to be handled slightly differently. And I don't think we can have certain things roll over from Arknights that are in this game, because we are not going to have a character pool as big or growing as fast as something as like Arknights, because just by the fact of this game being a visually impressive 3D action game, it's just not going to happen as quick, right? So let's talk about the gacha then, shall we? So you've got the basic headhunting and the chartered headhunting. So you've got your standard and your normal banners, or your premium banners, if you will, your limited banners, because they are technically proper limited banners now, but not quite. There's a little bit of a difference, which we'll go into. So obviously you can guarantee a 6-star operator within 80 attempts. That is the pity. In the beta before, that they didn't really specify if this is changed in regards to the pity. I don't believe, correct me if I'm wrong. So at 80 pulls, you'll trigger a 50-50. That's at the max. You can trigger that before. And in the beta, that pity carried over. If you lose your 50-50, you then can continue going on to 120 to guarantee the on-banner character, the featured banner character. So if you want the character on the banner, if you've got 120 pulls, all the way, you've got the character. this is how things have changed. This is how things have changed. Let me drag my camera down here so you guys can see what's going on. I'm sure you've all seen this because I would imagine this is a big conversation around the game and people are already not happy about it. And we were talking about this in my stream and I do understand the reasoning, okay? These characters now are not going to go into the standard banner, which before was the case. Say you've got Serta Leviathan on banner here, she would then go into the standard banner. It's not quite how it works now. And part of me thinks this system was kind of already partially in the previous beta because this kind of system did, you know, you could do this. So the way it works now is it's a rotation banner, basically. So the character that's the guarantee on month 1 will still be a 50-50 loss on month 2 and on month 3. So let's say you don't manage to get Serta. Say for whatever reason you don't get up to 120 pulls and maybe you 50-50 loss, you get Yvonne. You could lose the 50-50 loss for Yvonne and get Serta. Now this is still a banner system that is going to benefit you to make sure you have the pulls for the character you want to get. And it'll be interesting to see how it's informed to us in what's coming up in the banners and where the banners are. Because obviously, if you want to guarantee you're going to get Yvonne, the best thing is if you're willing to skip Serta, wait for Yvonne's banner and go all in. And then you're guaranteed to get her. And you might get Serta as well. I'm going to call her Serta. I'm going to call her Serta. So you might be lucky. Go all in. You might, well, I want to get Serta, but I really want to get Yvonne. I'm going to go for Yvonne. You get Yvonne, you get lucky, you get Serta. Maybe you don't. Maybe you just win Yvonne at the 80. Who knows? And then, you know, it doesn't really matter. I think this is an interesting system, but it does remove the characters going into the standard banner, which kind of, after launch, other than potentially 4 stars and 5-star units being put into the standard banner after the fact, after launch, will the standard banner have much use? I get that. It kind of will make it a little bit obsolete after a while because it won't be getting additions of new characters. But I also think potentially, and this is, obviously there's going to be changes because it's Endfield and it's on Arknights, but what if, hear me out, if Arknights at Endfield do add a system where we've got this rotating banner and in every set period of time, all the characters that have been in that rotation for that period of time just go into a selector. So let's say Yvonne doesn't go into the standard. They all don't, right? You missed Yvonne. You wanted to get Yvonne, but you missed Yvonne. And then 4 or 5 months down the line, selector drops and you can get all the characters within that period of time within that selector. And they do selectors every so often, maybe with different ones, kind of like how they do in Arknights. And you're able to just get that character from a selector as well. I'll be curious to know, would you guys like that system? Or are you really against the idea of the characters not going into the basic headhunting? Because I do agree, after the launch, the basic headhunting is going to kind of become obsolete, right? You know? Because obviously 4 stars will probably go into it, but they'll go into the normal banner as well, right? Into the chartered headhunting. So it won't really affect that. And if it's getting no new 6 stars after launch, what purpose does it serve? It's kind of just becomes... I don't know what their plan is for it. It'll be interesting to see. But maybe, potentially, some units may. Who knows? It just says, after removal, the 6-star operator will not be added to the basic headhunting. It doesn't say at a later date. It just says it won't be. So all we can take from this is you're going to have to wait. You're going to have to wait for it to maybe come up again, or potentially for a selector. Now, we don't know how often characters are going to re-roll as well, or rerun, should I say, because that is the thing we need to take into account. If you think about it, this is going to be over 3 banners, you're going to get the chance to get Serta. If reruns happen on a sort of, say, a Wuthering Waves kind of basis, you're probably not going to be waiting too long for the potential to get a character as well, because depending on banner length, this is going to be all over the period of a month. You know, you're going to have a month and a half, let's say, to get a unit. And then if that character reruns within that year, you're not going to be waiting a massive amount of time. Now, I know it's not the best system in that regard, and it really would be nice to have the basic as well, because I like this rotation system. But if it went into the standard, it would be kind of nice also. So technically now, everything is a limited banner, sort of, or a not focus limited banner, but a range. We've got a little spread on a focused, not a focus, on a spread limited banner. Even I'm getting my words out somehow, but yeah, interesting. But it is a shame that we've lost the characters going into basic headhunting. I've been really curious to see what people have got to say about that. Now we've got the Arsenal exchange, which I'm pretty sure this is still the same, right? This is still the same now. You get weapon rebate. You get Arsenal tickets for pulls. So every set of pulls you do, you get Arsenal tickets to be able to put into the weapon gacha as well. So you don't just have to spend time buying weapon currency or splitting your gacha currency for characters into weapon currency. You get it back from pulls. You can also, obviously, it can be acquired from the credit store, certain packs, and the protocol customized tier of protocol pass. So another reason why that protocol pass is good is you're actually going to get Arsenal tickets in, as well as being able to get it over and over again. So one-time payment and Arsenal tickets, really good deal. Now, how many we get? We don't know yet, right? We don't know yet. So it will be interesting to see as well, when the beta goes live, how much this costs in China, and to kind of get a ballpark of how much pulls are going to cost us and packs and all that sort of stuff. So with the weapons, I think there's some tweaks here, right? You'll have to remind me. It's been a few months now, but it seems pretty much what it was before. Let me know down below how much has changed, if you guys can remember. So in each Arsenal issue, a 6-star weapon is guaranteed within 4 attempts. And it works in like 10 fours, like. And then a featured weapon is guaranteed within 8 attempts. So you'll get a 6-star weapon within 4, and the on-banner weapon will be in 8. And then there's a next thing of the Arsenal issue rewards. So on the 10th, you'll get a 10th attempt, you'll be given an Arsenal offering crate, which lets you choose a non-featured 6-star. So in a sense, on the 10th pull, 2 pulls after your 8, it's kind of like a guaranteed 50-50 loss, but you get to select the loss, if that makes sense. That's the best way to kind of explain it, in my opinion. And then 8 more attempts later, you get the featured weapon once more. And then on the 26th pull, this is if you're whaling, really, you're going in for the actual arms Arsenal offering crate again. And then again, 34th attempt, featured weapon. So it's kind of like a 50-50, but it's almost like it's kind of like a guaranteed loss, if that makes sense, but the option to choose. So if there's a character within the banner, a weapon, sorry, that's within the banner that you think could be really useful for another unit, you can then select them, not have to deal with the RNG of that. I kind of like that. I must admit, I think it's a pretty decent system, personally. But as I say, it's already doing the rounds in Reddit, and people are not happy about characters not going into the standard banner. People saying it's garbage. I guess this is it for me. I just can't be excited for this game anymore. Sorry. Like, I'm a little bit disappointed by the Doom posting. But at the end of the day, I Doom post myself on games that I disagree with, right? And I think it's fair for people to have these opinions. I've got no issues with it. But I genuinely, I think the gacha system, in my opinion, is still a really good gacha system, right? But I do understand the people taking umbrage with things not going into the basic headhunting banner. It does kind of suck. Because what does the basic headhunting do now? After launch, does it just become a dead banner that nobody ever uses again? What are we doing with that? Is there going to be other stuff? Is it going to be... Are we going to do that? Like, how I said, after a set period of time, would we be able to get a selector? And then maybe a couple of those units go into that? Like, I think something should filter into it at some point. Otherwise, it kind of loses its reason for being there, other than a standard banner that's not connected to the chartered headhunting. And we all know pretty much all gacha games have a standard banner, but without stuff going in, it's kind of like WoW. The standard banner itself kind of becomes useless, unless you just need to get, you're hoping to maybe get some copies on some of the units that you want to try for, but you might as well dump those pulls into premium pools, right? So it's an interesting choice. I really like this rotation idea, personally. Now, I know it's not going to be for everybody, because some people might not like the idea of getting characters that they weren't going for, and then on the next banner, maybe not getting what they want. Personally, I don't have an issue with it. I think it's a good system. But the basic headhunting, I think, is a bit of a problem. Now, at the end of the day, whether I think it's good or not, when the game launches, if it's expensive and the economy sucks, it's all trash. I don't care whether stuff goes into basic, whether we have a rotation banner, whether weapon pull systems are decent, it won't mean anything. And I will be there to call it out. We'll have to wait and see. So far, I am not negative towards how they seem to be monetizing the game. And I think the protocol pass is really good as well. I think that's a really good addition to the game. And yeah, the fact that you get Arsenal ticket pulls in there as well is really, really cool. So guys, let me know what you think down below about the monetization, about the adjustments to the gacha, and what do you think about the protocol pass as well? I think that's a W. I think that's a W. I get it. The idea that people might say, well, it makes you feel an onus to log in more. At the end of the day, just don't, and then just buy it again. It's no different than having one that you have to buy every month. Just don't complete it and then have a few days off and buy it again. This way, if you want to, it's like, it's a one-time purchase. That's a really good deal in my opinion. But guys, let me know what you think down below. If you've enjoyed the video, give it a like, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you all in the next one. Dera.